but I I have ex- I have ex- I have accepted who I am. I know I have some hard time with my words, but I know I'm able to do it, and that's what keeps me in, inspired, I guess, and going.
Well, welcome to Some Stutter Law, Newfoundland and Labrador's first podcast about stuttering. My name is Greg O'Grady, and I am the chair of the Newfoundland and Labrador Stuttering Association and a co host of Some Stutter Law, Newfoundland and Labrador's first podcast about stuttering, along with my co host.
And I'm Katelyn Mayo. I'm a student and an aspiring speech language pathologist, and I'm Greg's co host on this podcast.
Some Stutter Law mission is dismantling and rebuilding stuttering. Let's start listening. Some Stutter Law mandate is in the spirit of Newfoundland and Labrador humor, robust and frank interactive discussions. Some Stutter Law podcast aims to rebuild confidence and hope for today's and tomorrow's persons who happen to stutter by dismantling stuttering myths, stigmas, stereotypes, and barriers.
The objectives of Some Stutter Love podcast are supporting, raising awareness, and increasing understanding and acceptance of stuttering, providing people who stutter, their families, professionals, students, and the general public with current information, research, and resources about stuttering, and promoting the NLSA mission of advocacy and support for people who stutter.
Today's Some Stutter Law welcomes Ronan Corr. Ronan is a person who stutters. Ronan, would you share a little bit about yourself to our Some Stutter Law listeners audience?
Yes. My name is Ronan, and I have been a stutterer through all my life, and I am I am the only one in my family who stutters, and the reason is it is because of what happened to me at birth. I have some brain damage, and I've been told by the doctor Kroll, but in my case that I am speaking from the wrong part of my brain, and really I don't know if that is the reason, but since I know I have the brain damage, I that is what I uh, that is what so I believe in. The volume.
Okay.
Oh, there we go. I can
Ronan,
hear you.
yeah, I'm glad you mentioned Dr. Bob Kroll. Bob was my speech therapist as well years ago, and I mean the loss of Robert. Robert passed away as we know in last month. So Robert will be really is going to be sadly missed. But what was your impressions of Dr. Kroll when you were working with them? What did you
Oh,
think of him?
um, he he was great. I mean, I remember when I first started, it was it was I first went to see him when I was 18, and up to then I had a couple of speech pathologists throughout my high school and my middle school years, or in my elementary. And I went to six I went to sick there's like hospital to toll, and also I had some peace that came to me to, 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 when I was in elementary. So I will be taken out of my classes for an hour a week and would practice on my speech, I guess, But it wasn't until I went to Dr. Kroll that he had broke me all down, and over 10 months, after 10 months, I was able to speak fluently in a room of individuals, and asked to stand up in my classes and able to speak out with ease. And the one thing that really helped me is that I was doing all my breathing from up here, and after 3 months of hard work, I was able to take a full breath from my diaphragm.
Ronan, I'm curious now, like knowing that you've taken speech therapy, what is the challenges of practicing your speech, learning the targets in a clinical environment, and transferring out to the real world? What's your thoughts about that?
It isn't as easy as it sounds like, and especially now that I've become very uncomfortable with how I am speaking. And I must admit, though, I no longer have any treatments and all, and I do process from time to time on my own, but it is for me, it's really hard to transfer it out into the world today. And part of it, and I think it's me who's not keeping up the daily routines of my guess, and I believe that in one way how we are all guilty of that in a way, like as a person going to work out and they had to the gym, and over time they just fall off, I guess, and it's really hard to, to motivate, I guess. But overall, though, I think I am doing well. And the other thing that I picked up recently is that over time, and especially since the last, I mean, it's been ages since I went to Dr. Kroll and had some treatment back in the late 1990s, but and today, in part with me, that when I interact with people today and with the use of the mobile phones and all, and it seems that we, to me, in my mind, how society has has hurried up a bit, I guess, and that is, um, and that's one thing that took me up when I know I am not practicing on a daily basis, and when I interact with an individual, and it's like, to me, it's always like now, and you have to pick it out, like, and I just freeze up.
Ronan, I'm wondering now, like as a father of a young daughter, how old is your daughter now, Ronan?
He is 12.
She's 12. Now, have you know, like have you and her discussed your stuttering and what like how have you approached it with her and what's her reaction to it? Do you want to share that for our listeners?
Yeah, sure. I haven't really talked with her that much, so uh, about it in a way of like how to talk with people people who tattoos and all. But I got in a part with my mom and her and I, she became so aware of what happened to me and why I have a hard time with my words, and I need a bit more time in looking out, and from that I believe that helps her into the individual who she is today, who treats people with respect and all, and and maybe know that that everybody has some type of issues that they have to work on and all that. But
that's go ahead, Ronan.
yeah,
Go
okay.
ahead.
And again, it is true that when I am speaking with people who I know, it is easier on me.
Mm, mm. That is a great approach for your daughter. How you like have explained it to your daughter, and I'm sure that has helped her to be more sensitive and more on understanding not only of yourself, but as you were saying, with other people with other challenges as well, other disabilities.
Right.
Now I'll pass it over to Kate. Kate, I'm sure Caitlin has a few questions.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest one that comes to mind is there's a lot of kind of research and in the literature kind of talking when it talks about the origins of stuttering, and it talks about how sometimes people who have this, the origin of their stuttering is biological. It's easier to accept it because you can pinpoint a biological reason as opposed to not knowing the reason. Have you found that for yourself? Has it been easier to kind of accept and understand your stutter because you can pinpoint the biological origin of the stutter, or has that not kind of made a difference?
So I guess in a way it is, and that, and I also, because of what happened to me at birth, I have the mild cerebral palsy, and cerebral palsy. So I actually look back at many people go in different ways. I mean, I have a limp when I walk, but I know there are other people who have cerebral palsy that you need to have a helping with a walker or a or a wheelchair, and they are able to speak easily. Where at me, I'm able to walk without any assistance, but I have a harder time with my words. And the thing is that I know what I want to say, but it's all up in my mind. It's just got it out. And I remember one time, so an uncle of mine, he asked me, so when I read to my self, what happened? Do you have trouble reading? I go, no, because I am reading in my mind. It's nothing. It it doesn't have anything with my with the physical. So that's overall what I think is about me and how I'm aware that I know my stuttering and I accept it. And I guess those people who are around me that like knows me are all right with it. And I guess I am I guess it's up to me if I really do want to get back up to where I was, is reach out to others to help me that just to become just become a more co- 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 comfortable and a different situations and all. But the other thing too, just like here now, is that A, I am I am comfortable, and B, after a bit of time speaking, it it's easier. But then again, is that I have to work at it to have a different mind that so, so, so when I am speaking with people people who I don't really know or who don't understand why people why people should others, and therefore I become a little overwhelmed, and it's harder when I'm overwhelmed.
Ronan, as Kate mentioned earlier when she was doing introducing herself, she's an aspiring speech language pathologist. Do you have any
Right.
advice for her?
um, advice for Katelyn. Perhaps people who people who stutters are perhaps the best people to speak with. The reason why is because we need to think about what is we need to say, and perhaps what is our message that we gotta over is so very very like genuine, and I guess I can mean it full in a way, yeah. And that is my advice.
When when a person who stutters is seeking treatment from a speech language pathologist, what advice would you give them in terms to assess the fit of the working with the personality of the speech language pathologist, the client? Because normally, you see, sometimes I think, Ronan, that people who stutter when they're seeking treatment, they don't, they may not realize that they know that they have a right to interview a speech language pathologist for the fit. What's
Mhm.
your thoughts about that?
um, yeah, I mean, I went to a speech with all this, and I got with me I that I didn't really had any say of who I had to who who I want and all that stuff, and I guess with me that it just happens, and 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 I tend to go along with it, I guess, and I guess
Do you think
and
do you think, Ronan, that it may be left up to the speech pathologist to ask the question? Because people who stutter when they're approaching a stranger, they feel anxious. I'm just wondering if it's wise for a speech language pathologist to ask, you know, because I mean they're also interviewing the client as well. But do you think a speech pathologist may ask, should ask, do you feel comfortable with me?
true, yes, and all, and I guess uh come I am comparing a doctor Kroll to my other previous guitarists, and the difference that I felt very comfortable with him is that he told me the reason why my previous treatment doesn't, or how it didn't really how worked out well. And the reason is because he told me that he he also told me to how beef is made. and that how you have to have your air and take the full breath and targets that a Dr. Kroll went over compared to my other speech speech pathologists. So they have a meaning for why they are the way they are, and how the technique, like the plosive and the open the mouth and the reduced articulatory pressure, how they, so once I realized why Dr. Kroll taught me the speech tigers he did, I have a better understanding of how speech works, and over time it became easier. So I hope that helps.
So how do you respond to that, Caitlin? In terms of I think what Ronan is saying is that it depends on the knowledge base of the speech language pathologist, and given Ronan's situation, there's other like biologist factors involved. What would you respond to that?
It makes total sense. I've never really thought of I mean, I've obviously thought about the fit between a client and a speech pathologist, but in terms of like, say, working in a school system or healthcare, things like that, you don't really have a choice who you get, both in terms of who the client gets as a speech therapist and who the speech therapist gets as a client. And there's a thing in terms of mental health counseling. They always talk about kind of making sure you and your therapist or your counselor are a good fit. And I never kind of applied that over to speech until now. I never really thought about that. But it makes total sense because somebody could be a phenomenal therapist or speech pathologist and just not fit right with your personality or what you need. And so it makes complete sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's interesting when I started to seek. Well, I shouldn't say it when I started to seek. I remember I was referred to a therapist, and back then, I mean, because my speech was so severe and I was very vulnerable and everything. I was young at the time. I started speech therapy when I was about 20. I was 21, 22. And so I was referred, and I didn't even think about, I had no concept about interviewing a therapist. You know, I was sort of referred because I had no other choice. But I think we have to really, as people who study, we have to remind people who study, as well as a therapist, that there's a responsibility to put the cards on the table and say, okay, after join the discussion, that do you feel comfortable with me? Do I feel comfortable with you? It all makes sense, but sometimes I think people study don't realize that.
I think too, their resources are so limited that sometimes it's hard to do that because you might get an appointment with a speech pathologist and like a private practice speech pathologist, and you might not be able to get another one for months. And so you kind of, it's that one appointment or nothing.
That's an excellent point, Caitlin, because you're right. I mean, just for uh, parents of children who stutter, I mean, the waiting list is a definite issue, and sometimes they're just very thankful of getting an appointment. And I guess these questions don't even enter one's mind. Ronan, given your history now, and thank you very much for being so honest with Katelyn and I.
Yeah,
You know, you've
you're
gone through a
welcome.
lot of challenges. You've gone through a lot of challenges in life. How, you know, what keeps you going, emotionally,
What?
psychologically? What keeps you going?
I mean, really, it's like I've I've always had to overcome so a lot in my life, and I also needed the guidance, I guess, and with me, I guess I just have realized that how can I get the best out of my life? What so, so what do I need to do? I guess, and I guess in a way it has come back with my mom and my dad in a way because without the pushing me and everything. So I wouldn't believe that I would have be able to have gotten through university and 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 graduate with a degree. And both my mom and my dad have been very successful in life. And I guess with the help for putting me through the help I need along the way in my ed, education and all, that I was able to see a light at the end of the tunnel I got because I had I got, and I remember after university and like you go out on your world on your own and all that, I felt that I was a little overwhelmed, I guess. And so I sought out some help to help me to stay focused. And eventually I was able to get the work and all. But and I know that I am an adult and I can make my own mind up and I can do the own thing that I want to do. But I got keep given the history I had. I always had a helping hand with my mom and my dad. How that is the one thing that I wish I had now, or I expect to have And now, when I try to do other things in life,
You know, what advice, Ronan, would you give other people who stutter at this point? Well, what advice do you have for other people who stutter?
well, I would just say pass on what people pass on to me, and just chill out and ex- accept it, and don't be too hard on yourself. So, 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 so help. And I know I am, and I know in a way that to affect my speech. So at times, I am my own word enemy. And I guess how the other thing is, or how there is like no need to rush, is that if you have put in the effort and how you are working with a speech disorder, and how both of you have the same goal in mind about how the speech artists say. I mean, I remember a Dr. Kroll at the beginning. He asked me to read a paragraph. I had the hardest time. He goes, well, how about that? Give me 6 months, and, by after 6 months, how I'll guarantee you that you'll be able to read this with ease. I'm like, for what? Oh, really? Wow. Okay. Because in part, I I have I have I have accepted who I am. I know I have some hard time with my words, but I know I'm able to do it, and that's what keeps me in inspired, I guess, and going. There you go.
So, Katelyn, do you have any last questions for Ronan?
Yeah, I have one sort of question, kind of broad, but I've noticed that most of the people that we interview have like one or two very salient experiences or stories about their experiences as a person who stutters. So I was wondering if there's any kind of story or anything that you want to share that stands out to you as a moment where kind of your mindset changed or something happened to you, positive or negative, that influenced how you view your stutter or anything like that.
Um, I guess, I mean, overall, when I went through schooling, the most of the students, they were understanding. I guess I do have a couple of the bullies, but I tried to bust it off. But I guess from and from what I hear from other people who the daughter didn't really have that support when they went through schooling. But now I remember one day in high school, a fellow student told me I can't understand that the way you speak and all. And I guess over time, and even over time, I I have learned how that isn't my issue. That is his issue. And also, when I when I speak to people who I don't really know, and it's harder on me with my speech and my speech and my stuttering is 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 the worst. But the one thing that I got feedback on is that how they didn't notice it. What? Really? So it's all me and all my mind with my playing a mind game on me. And I guess in one way, I guess how that is the biggest hurdle I need to overcome today, since to help me with my speech, since I no longer take therapy, and I have all the tools I needed. I just I just have to look at them, to brush them, and become a little more comfortable with them again. And and when that happened, and I'm speaking with an individual on the out on the street, is that I become so un, unaware that I am actually using my speech targets. But overall, today, I guess how in my world and the people I interact with on a daily basis, I am happy with, and it's easier on me, I guess, you know.
Ronan, do you want to give yourself a shout out as to what you do professionally, because you're in the computer. So want
Yeah.
to give yourself a promotion for your work.
Yes, sir. Um, I am a web developer, and I went to university for a combination of the business and computers, and I thought, in a way, because of my speech, how it'd be easier with my hand to help out or to give back to the community and maybe make a living out of it. And and now I I am working for Overwhelm, Canada. I've been working there since October 2020. So around 6 month, and I love my job because in a way how it relates to me is I improve the web accessibility on the web pages, but I also like to help out with some other individuals who want to, to have a web set up and how using a word for flash. Had I'm able to customize it to the liking.
Ronan, if any of our listeners would like to, that's looking for a web designer, how would they contact you?
Right? Yes, they can contact me through email at Ronan underscore core at hotmail.com. So RONAN and underscore C as in Canada, ORR at hotmail.com. And I have over 15 years of experience.
Also, just just to give a shout out to just to give a witness to Ronan Corr's quality of work as a personal client of Ronan. Ronan helped me set up the Newfoundland and Labrador walk and run website, and he also set up the website for the Newfoundland and Labrador Stuttering Association. So I highly recommend Ronan's quality of work and professionalism.
Okay.
Ronan, I always keep saying that whenever, Katelyn and I really, really feel privileged when we listen to uh, other people who stutter share their lived experiences because we learn so much, and especially myself as a person who stutters as well. I'm
Mhm.
continuously learning about stuttering. It can be overwhelmed just
Right.
the information that I don't know. Yeah. So just
Mhm.
give you a chance to. Do you have any questions for Caitlin and I before we close?
Um, so like how long is this program and what you are going to do afterwards, or what it is that you are getting that you are getting out of it.
Would you like to answer that, Caitlin?
Sure. Um, well, I mean, we kind of started it a little bit. It kind of came to fruition very quickly and randomly for me, at least. I know Greg's been doing a lot of really great podcast work for a while. And I just got an email one night from my supervisor asking me to join. And then we kind of developed this kind of out of nothing, which was kind of crazy. And I think the long-term goal is just to keep up what we're doing and grow the podcast as much as we can, expand, so that more people hear and learn about what we're sharing. And for me, what I'm getting out of it is amazing experiences listening to people who stutter and learning from them. Because as somebody who wants to work with that population in the future, the best way to learn what they need and what they want and what I can do for them is to hear from them themselves. So what I'm getting out of it
Mhm.
is an amazing learning experience.
And I like to add that out out of all the disabilities that that you hear that you hear in the news and all, people who who people who to others, they seem to be pushed away a bit, or it isn't as well kind of known as, let's say, people who have people who have people who have epilepsy, or people who have a who have ADD or ADD and are hyperactive. And I guess, well, one way that I find with me that easier is that if the other person is, is aware of it, it's easier on me, I guess.
And Ronan, you really have hit the nail on the head because well, what some sort of law podcast is trying to do is build awareness and build awareness and to educate people and to understand stuttering because unfortunately when I retired and came to Newfoundland looking for support for people who stutter, there's there's very little support and awareness and attention given to stuttering in our province. So this is what we're trying to do is build awareness, and I'm very blessed and fortunate to have a passionate group of volunteers through the Newfoundland Labrador Stuttering Association. Caitlin, Luca, Dr. Paul De Decker. So we're really working hard long term to build awareness, understanding, and acceptance of stuttering. And as our mission says, is we're trying to dismantle and rebuild stuttering. So let's start listening. So Ronan,
Mhm.
thank you very much again, and we'll have you back.
Right on. Okay. So thank you very much. And it has been a pleasure.
Some Stutter La, Newfoundland and Labrador's first podcast about stuttering, has so much to talk about. Let's start listening.
This has been an episode of some law. Newfoundland and Labrador's first podcast about stuttering. Some Stutter Law is hosted and produced by Grego Grady, Katelyn, Mayo, Dr. Paul Decker, and Luca, Dinu. Some Stutter Law is available on Anchor, Spotify, Breaker, Google Podcast, Pocket Cast, and Radio Public. To ask a question, send us a comment or a suggestion, or to get in touch. Find us online at some Stutter podcast on Instagram, or at some Stutter La Pod on her Facebook. Thanks for listening.